Hey guys, it's me, Tiffany. If this is the first time you've been to my channel, I mostly do novels, graphic novels, manga, and occasionally I'll do a television show or a movie, especially if it's book related, just not as frequently. So I did not plan to make this video. This video is going to be completely unscripted. There's no PowerPoints. I actually just filmed another video about poetry, and honestly, I think this video is going to come out first just because it makes more sense for this video to come out first. And this thought just popped into my head. So if this is all over the place, I'm sorry. I am going to try to keep this brief. If there's anything you want me to talk in more depth about in the comments or in a video, let me know. And I would love to have a discussion with you or maybe explain more into detail. So first off, I am a mood reader. I've never made a goals video, but I have made TBRs. And I think in every TBR video, I don't say like for the month or whatever. I'm just like, when I get to it, I get to it, or I would like to get to that eventually. That I guess that's implied as a mood reader, right? So my reading stuff kind of changed a little bit too. Lately, I've been reading more short stuff and graphic novels. But I have gone through poetry phases. I've gone through epic fantasy phases. Sometimes I read an epic fantasy and then I want to read a children's book. That's all implied, right? So all of these goals are pretty long-ish terms, but I do try to set a little time limit. So maybe I will achieve these goals eventually. I am like this in every single hobby I have, whether it's video games, books, drawing, paintings, writings, whatever. I try to suit very loose goals if they're actually worked at it. And so sometimes I'll finish a game in like a year, sometimes months, and then sometimes I'll finish them that week, And if I'm not getting paid for something, I try to keep my life a little loose because I want to enjoy myself, right? And that's just that. So the first goal I want to talk about, and I've been working on this since probably October-ish of 2018 because that's when I actually started using Goodreads more religiously, is I have been trying to reread every book and Shakespeare play that I have had to read in high school. And I'm just doing required readings. I am not worrying about like the Norton anthologies, which I don't think it was Norton in my high school, but you get the gist, right? I'm not going to worry about every little play or everything, but just the actual novels, because my English classes made you do 2 novels and a Shakespeare play, and I also had to do some plays because I did drama, so I included those, and I'm including the books I had to read for the research paper I had to do for all 4 years. I am never going to do this with my college books because I had to do too much required reading in college. But I just kind of wanted to see if I felt differently about these classics, or some of them weren't classics, as an adult than when I was required to read them. And I'm about 5 books away from finishing this goal. I didn't want to do it all at one time, especially when I knew something like The Grapes of Wrath I'm not going to enjoy. So I've been sprinkling that in, and I think I might try to finish it up by the end of this year since there's 5 left. So the second goal is, and this is a very loose goal, when I first set this goal up, I gave myself 6 years to do this. Okay, 6 years, because I know this is going to take a while. I want to read a book that is either based or the author has the nationality of every country in the world. And by the UN website I found, that is 192 countries. I know some countries consider some countries a country and some countries not a country, But I'm going by that list. And I went so far as to do, I have a copy of a list of every country and every territory and what country owns those territories. I'm not going to focus that hard on territories, but I just have that so I can look at it. I have hit probably about 60 countries so far. I do my best to try to find an author that is from that country, raised in that country, and the story takes place in that country and translated from that country, but that is not always possible, or it's really expensive. So sometimes I'll do like the children of immigrants from that story, or from that country, or sometimes I'll do a historical. Sometimes, I will do fiction. And sometimes I'll do travel memoirs, but in my list of books that I have done it, because I do write them down, like there was one where I found a travel memoir first and then eventually, and I'll put travel memoir so I know what perspective it comes from, because a traveler in that perspective is going to be different than somebody who was born and raised there, a person who is like maybe born in Canada or America, but their parents from there and they maybe travel there to see their family or just hear stories. That perspective is going to be different. When that story takes place is going to be different. If it's a classic from there or like, stuff like that. And I'm not against reading multiple, and that's the reason why I set the year so high, because like, even though I've read Japanese books before, let's say if there's like 6 Japanese classics that catch my eye, I want time to read them. I don't want to have to stop myself, and I don't want to make this feel like a chore. Talking about that, this goal is closer to a 4-year goal, but it's still travel related, is I want a book set in every United States state and territory. This is where I care about the territories, because the United States has Guam, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, North Mariana Islands, and the American Samoa. And I want to read a book from those areas as well. I don't care about every country's, every single territory, but if I get to them or I see them, I do mark them down. And with those, I'm a little bit more strict. I try to make sure that the author or the story takes place there and not just like, oh, that parent was born in Rhode Island. Like, something has to be more relevant in Rhode Island. So I'm a little bit more strict to that than the countries. And the only reason I'm so loose with the countries is because not everything is feasible or accessible in a way I can afford it, because definitely some of these I'm having to go out of pocket. And if I do read a travel guide and I find out there's been something translated or whatever, I do try to pick that up and add it to the list, but I try to make sure they're books I'm genuinely interested in, so my experience is a little bit better. But I don't try to pretend, I'm not going to just sit there and get like a fictional work in every single place and count that, if it's a bunch of Americans writing it or whatever. But I am not against travel stories or what have you. And I have read a lot of good books, and then some stuff I don't like. And if I dislike a book from that country, I try my best to find something else to give that country another chance. So, like I said, that's a very loose goal. Okay, so this next goal is just an overall goal. There's no time limit. And I know other people express, especially here on BookTube, of this goal, and I am no different. So I want to be more diverse in my reading. And for the most part, I think I do okay as far as it's like, if you were to look at the stuff I read, I don't, I could read, I guess, more LBGT books, but when I did that tag, I realized I do read a fair amount of, like, I guess, girl and girl stuff. I don't read a lot of gay men. I was very lacking in, non-binary, pansexuality, even bisexuality, and like, I read 3 asexual books last year during 31 Days and 31, and that's definitely not enough. So I am definitely like realized, oh, I might do this, but I am lacking here versus just an overall goal. But I am also not trying to hit just check marks. I'm trying to go for books I'm genuinely interested in, but keep my eyes open for like perspectives that'd be different than mine. I do need to work more on like disability rep, or maybe like different people from religions. Like, I've gotten decent at Muslim. I could definitely do more, but I guess because I read so many translated books, and not every Arab is Muslim. I'm not saying at all. But a lot of the Arabic books that I have read that's been translated do have Muslim authors or Muslim characters in their story. Not as an adult I've read like anything that's super Christian, but things like Little Women and stuff that definitely have Christian roots because it's American in particular. I think I've read maybe 2 or 3 things that might be Hindu, but not a lot, and there's a lot more religions. So I definitely need to work on that a little bit. And obviously, like, if I hit, like I said, sometimes it feels like I'm doing good, right? Because definitely when I read a lot more translated stuff or travel stuff, there's always room to grow when it comes to this topic. Not everything is racial diversity or ethnicity diversity or disability. Some is like sexuality. Some could be like, somebody just different. There's so much type of diversity, right? And some of it, like, with disabilities, it might be mental disability, it might be physical, like, and a lot of people don't understand. And as I mentioned before, racial and ethnicity are not exactly the same thing, but they can be tied together. So that, and I'm also trying to diverse what kind of things I read, instead of it all just being like fantasy or contemporary. I'm just trying to broaden what I read in general. I'm not going to force myself to read things I don't like, but I'm trying to learn things from different perspectives. And I know that's a very common goal, and I am talking maybe too much about this one goal, but that is something I just want as an overall reader, is to try a lot of things, especially since I am totally fine with using the library and stuff. I will just check out a lot of things, and if I don't like it, I put it down and go on to the next. And I think that's a very great benefit I have from having a great library system. Like Hawaii has a pretty solid library system, and I am thankful for that. I guess, okay, so a lack of goal of mine, I know if you go on my Goodreads, it says like 125 or 100 every year. And this isn't a goal, but I'm just explaining this because people commonly do reading numbers as a goal. I actually don't do that, and I use Goodreads as like a reading log diary. Goodreads doesn't pay me, and I don't care. So if I read a short story by itself, I put it on Goodreads. So that's why my number is high, and that's why it's inflated. I'm not actually reading like 160 full novels every single year. I don't have the time for that, and I don't have the mental energy for that. But like sometimes I read like I think it was in 2019, I read like 20 poetry books, and like this past year I've read a lot of manga. Like I read 2 manga series, I think, that were about 10 books each. And that like makes it look inflated. And these things, in my opinion, do count as reading, but I am not in a contest, and it doesn't matter. So while this isn't an exact goal of mine, I wanted to explain, like if you were to ever look on my Goodreads, what my mind process is with that. I'm also trying to think more critically, and this is an overall goal, about the books I'm reading, instead of, I do want escapist fantasy, but I do want to try to look things more critically. That, and I guess that's just a common goal as well, or a hopeful objective, but that's a thing. So this is just one day I would like to achieve goal, but not like the hardest goal in the world. I do want to read eventually every book by Jane Austen. I have read Persuasion, Pride and Prejudice, Emma, and Sense and Sensibility. I had just bought Mansfield Park, and I actually bought it. And I think I want to own her books, but I want to read them all first before I just go nuts and buy like all of them. Also, I want to read a lot more of Toni Morrison. I have read 3 of her books, Beloved, Home, and The Bluest Eye. I love them. I definitely want to check out Sula next. And I think I mentioned that in the classics I want to read, but that's like the one that's like I'm really looking forward to reading. And I'm not sure if I want to say I want to read every single book of hers, but I do want to hit a lot more of her bibliography. So there's that. I've been tracking every Stephen King book I have read, but I'm definitely not trying to hit every single book he's ever read. But I have hit about 20, and I just keep a list of as he published. Just, even has the short story collections on there. And I don't do every edition, but I do like to keep track because he has just so many books. And talking about Stephen King, I do want to hit The Dark Tower. I guess this might be a TBR, but I do want to hit The Dark Tower. I guess that's a TBR thing, then a goal, but a TBR can be a goal. But I think I want to start that soon. I've had the first book on Audible for a while. I think it was on a sale, and I just haven't gotten around to it because I know his other books affect this universe. And so I've just been putting that off, but I think I am going to start that next because Stephen King's very hit or miss with me. There are some books I absolutely love, but then there are books I definitely DNF. I say this every time I talk about Stephen King, but I hated it, and I did not like The Stand. So, but my favorite one was 11/22/63. I will praise that book forever. And I've liked other books like The Institute and stuff, and I love Carrie. But yeah, this is not about Stephen King. And I have thought about making a Stephen King video about talking about which Stephen King books I've read and ranked them before doing The Dark Tower, but I am not fully sure if I want to go that route or not yet, but it's been an idea for a while. So another one is Brandon Sanderson. I want to finally get around to the Mistborn Era 2. I guess that's TBR, but I track his books as well just because he has so many. I track Ellen Hopkins, even though I've owned every like fictional book she's come out with, and I've read all but the newest one. I still track that. Trying to think about who else I track. I don't think I track anybody else's. I had made a list before for Cassandra Clare, but after reading 3 of her books, I don't plan on reading hers again. And I made this like I think in like 2016, and I didn't start reading them until like 2019. Like, she was a very low tier goal, and I just kind of abandoned that. But I think I still have the Google Docs, and I have not updated it since that time. So yeah, I'm trying to think else. Because like I said, I want to read more Toni Morrison. And she has like a lot of different types of books. I actually just got there's like an essay book that she did, and I got it on Audible. And I really liked that. I kind of want to go through more of Emily Dickinson. I know that is poetry, but I do want to go through more of her. I want to give Maya Angelou a chance, and I actually have 2 books that are on reserve at the library for her. I guess a lot of people have her books checked out, so I'm having to wait on it, which is great. I've heard she's a great writer. I know she's super important. I just haven't gotten around to reading that. I can't think of the author's name off the top of my head. I'll write it here. The one who wrote The Kite Runner. I've read all the fiction that's come out, so I always keep an eye on his stuff, trying to make sure he doesn't come out with anything new and I miss it, because I loved everything I've read from his, including the little picture book. My brain's kind of staticky on that because I think I read them all in like 2019. I just binged his books, which I read The Kite Runner in high school, and then I reread it as far as that goal. So that's where that came from. I have a tracker for Shakespeare. I don't know if I'll ever achieve this goal, but I've been trying. I have read, I can't think the number off the top of my head because this isn't script. I'll put it here. Maybe I'll show the list. Maybe not. I don't know. And I thought about doing a video, like I said, with Stephen King about which Shakespeares I've read. I just don't know if anybody would be interested in that. And I've never read any of his sonnets. So I think I might get around to that eventually. I do like Shakespeare, but I don't think he is the king of literature or the king of playwrights. But as far as my personal enjoyment. But I do think he is super influential, and his stories pop up everywhere. And I think it's fun to read them, like, even though they're not always my favorite, because I'll be like, oh man, I'm seeing this and this and this. And I think seeing those Easter eggs, especially when they're quick reads, it's just a lot of fun. So that's the main reason I read him, is because, not that I think he's the greatest playwright as far as my personal enjoyment, but I love seeing Easter eggs and other things, and I get the references to everything. Or when I read his plays, I'm like, huh. And I actually have King Lear checked out and Titus Andronicus. So we'll see when I get to those. But those have been kind of fun, especially now that I'm older. I feel like I get more enjoyment. I think Shakespeare is taught weird in high school, but that is not my point. So those are just very broad goals that I have. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh yeah, I got something else. So I have a lot of Kindle books I haven't read just because I got them on like 99 cents. So, or if I see a free book sometimes, I'll just add it. I don't know why, but that's like impulsive. And yeah, they don't take up physical space, and I guess maybe I haven't spent tons of money, but I definitely want to power through books that are on my Kindle, which sometimes I buy them when they're cheap, especially when they're popular books. So you can get like the audiobook cheaper sometimes. So sometimes like I think The Darkest Mind was the one I did this with 2 books. I bought the first 2 books for 99¢, and then you can get the Whisper edition at the time for $5. And I just haven't listened to it or read it. If I've done that and got both, I'm just going to hit one or the other. I'm not going to try to read a digital copy and then worry about the audiobook. And also, I have a lot of Audible books I just haven't listened to because I put library books on priority. I love the library. I prefer the library, especially since I've been reading more graphic novels and stuff, right? But I definitely want to I definitely want to knock down my TBR from that instead of just letting it sit there. So that is definitely a goal of mine. I don't know why I spaced out on that. And then like I have the History of Dragons or whatever. I'll put a picture up. I've read the first book on audiobook. And then some reason I never finished the series, but I have bought the entire series. I had like 2 through 5, and I recently just bought the first one because it bugged me to have 2, 3, 4, and 5 and not have the first. Like, I don't have to own the entire series for a thing, but it bugged me so much to just not have the first book. So I don't remember much from that. So I'm definitely going to have to reread the first book. So I think that's why I've been putting it off. But that is definitely a goal that's been in my mind. I just haven't done that yet. And also, I'm trying to be more realistic and try to figure out if I'm going to finish a series or not. I did a video that's out at the time of me doing this about me finishing 4 series, and that felt so good because I just keep starting series and not finishing. Like, I don't want to start series that aren't finished because I'm like, then I have to wait around, but then I am not finishing these series. So I need to get around to that, and I need to be more realistic. Like, am I going to abandon this series? Am I going to finish this series? Like, right now, I am slowly making my way through Mark of Athena, like the Heroes of Olympic series. I decided I'm going to tackle that finally. Like, I read the first 2 books very far apart and then finally got around to Mark of Athena. And I want to read more by Rick Riordan or Wharton. I don't know the correct way to say that. But I need to finish these instead of just only finishing Percy Jackson and just marking all the stuff from Wharton's Reads or whatever, or Wharton Presents, whatever that company is called. Like the daughter, like, I think he came out with like the one that's like a 20,000 Under Leagues retelling. And then he has some that are different authors with different mythos, and they always grab my attention, but I keep telling myself, Heroes of Olympus first. And I do like it. It's just I'm being slow about it. Like, I've need to read the last book of the Poppy War, you know, and that's been on my list for a while. And it's just some reason I'm having a hard time finishing series, and I need to be more realistic when I get into series, or if I think I'm not going to finish, I'm just going to do my best. Like Outlander, I've been telling myself for 2 years now, 2 years, I am going to read The Fiery Cross, and I have not. Last year, I read a novella to get me back into the Outlander world, and I really enjoyed the series of where I got to. I guess it's just because they're chunky, there's so much, I don't know. But I need to finally do it or just give up the series, and I am definitely making it a goal that I need to read it within 6 months, or at least start it and make tremendous progress in it, or I'm just going to abandon the series. And that's another thing of mine. So guys, I can't think of anything else, but nothing scripted. So maybe I'll come up with something while I'm editing, and I'm just going to forget about it because I'm not going to re-record. So let me know what your goals are, what your thoughts are, and I don't know if these are goals or just, that's my mind process, like going into books and reading, and I thought I would just share that with you guys. And if you have any recommendations that fit any of these, or if you want to see a video about any of these, let me know, and I will talk to you later. Bye!